You see, life will test you. It will strip away the noise, the crowd, the comfort of familiarity, and leave you standing in front of one person, yourself. And that's when the real test begins. Because if you can't stand with yourself, if you can't walk alone, then how do you expect to lead? Being alone isn't a punishment. It's a lesson. It's a space for growth, for clarity, for transformation. Yet so many people fear it. They run from silence, from solitude, from the idea of being by themselves. But the truth is, solitude isn't something to be feared. It's something to be embraced. It's in those moments of quiet where you come face to face with who you really are. No distractions, no outside opinions, just you. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in silence and truly listened to yourself? Not to the noise of the world, not to the expectations placed on you, but to the voice inside that knows what you really want, what you truly need. Most people never do. They drown themselves in distractions, social media, relationships, endless conversations, just to avoid confronting their own thoughts. But growth doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the stillness. When you learn to sit with yourself, you begin to understand yourself. You recognize your strengths, your weaknesses, your dreams, and your fears. You start to see the patterns in your thoughts, the cycles you've been repeating, the things you've been running from. And in that recognition comes power. Because once you understand yourself, you can change, you can evolve, you can become who you were meant to be. Some of the greatest minds in history found their strength in solitude. They didn't rely on constant validation or approval. They spent time alone, thinking, strategizing, understanding themselves and their purpose. They weren't afraid of silence, they welcomed it. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's space. Space to reflect, to grow, to create. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding solitude, mistaking it for loneliness. But there's a difference. Loneliness is feeling empty in your own company. Solitude is finding fulfillment within yourself. The moment you embrace solitude, you become unstoppable. Because you no longer depend on external factors to bring you peace or happiness. You carry it within you. There will be times in your journey when you have to walk alone. When the people around you don't understand your vision. When the world doubts you. When the road ahead seems uncertain. And in those moments, solitude becomes your greatest ally. It sharpens your mind, it strengthens your resolve, it teaches you resilience. So, don't fear being alone. Fear never knowing who you are because you never took the time to listen. Fear staying the same because you never gave yourself the space to grow. Fear becoming dependent on the presence of others instead of building the foundation within yourself. When you embrace solitude, you find clarity, you find strength, you find purpose, and most importantly, you find yourself. Because at the end of the day, the relationship you have with yourself is the most important one you'll ever have. And when that relationship is strong, when that foundation is unshakable, nothing, no person, no circumstance, no obstacle can break you. Your destiny is yours. It was never meant to be a group project, and it was never meant to be built by committee. Too many people wait for approval before they take action, looking around to see who agrees with them, who supports them, who will walk beside them. But the truth is, not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Not everyone has the vision to see what you see. Not everyone has the strength to carry what you carry. And if you keep waiting for people to understand your dream before you chase it, you'll be waiting forever. The most successful people in the world didn't get there by following the crowd. They got there by breaking away from it. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't look for validation. They knew that their path was their own, and they walked it. Alone if they had to. Because that's what it takes. It takes the courage to step forward when no one else believes in you. It takes the discipline to put in the work when no one is watching. It takes the resilience to keep going even when the people you thought would support you disappear. If you rely on others to move forward, you'll never move at all, because people are unpredictable. Their opinions change, their priorities shift, and if your dreams are tied to their approval, then your success will always be at their mercy. You have to decide right now that your purpose is non-negotiable, that whether they understand or not, whether they stay or leave, whether they support you or doubt you, you will keep going. There will be times when you feel alone, when it seems like no one understands why you're working so hard, why you're sacrificing so much, why you refuse to settle for less than what you know you deserve. But those moments of solitude are where champions are made. Those are the moments that separate those who dream from those who achieve. Those are the moments that separate those who dream from those who achieve. You were not born to follow, you were born to lead. And leadership requires solitude. It requires the strength to stand on your own, to trust yourself even when the rest of the world questions you. It requires the ability to silence the noise, to tune out the doubts, and to focus on the vision that was given to you and you alone. Some people will walk with you for a season, others may stay for a while, but at the end of the day, your journey is yours. Your success is yours, and if you have to walk alone to get there, then so be it, because what's waiting for you on the other side is greater than anything. Strength is not built in comfort. It is not built in the presence of applause or surrounded by a cheering crowd. Strength is built in isolation, in those moments when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is there to reassure you. It's built in the struggle, in the silence, in the battles you fight when the world has turned away. Every great warrior, every great leader, every great mind has faced a period of solitude, a season where they had to rely on nothing but their own resilience, their own discipline, their own fire. And it is in those seasons where they became unbreakable. Because isolation is where you sharpen your mind, where you train your body, where you strengthen your spirit. It's where you learn to push past your limits, to dig deeper than you ever have before, to survive without the crutch of validation or encouragement. When a lion hunts, it hunts alone. When a soldier prepares for war, he trains in silence. When an artist creates their masterpiece, they do it in solitude. Because real power, real excellence, real greatness, those things are not developed in the noise. They are developed in the quiet hours of discipline and dedication, where no one is there to witness the work but you. Most people will never understand this. They think that strength comes from others, from being surrounded by people who push them, from always having support. But true strength comes from within. It comes from being able to push yourself when no one else will. It comes from knowing that even if no one believes in you, even if no one sees the effort, even if no one recognizes the work, you will still keep going. This is why so many people fail. They depend on external motivation. They rely on the energy of a crowd, the approval of others, the presence of someone to hold them accountable. But what happens when that's gone? What happens when you're left alone with nothing but your own thoughts, your own doubts, your own fears? That's when you find out what you're truly made of. If you can train yourself to embrace isolation, to thrive in it, to see it not as loneliness, but as an opportunity to sharpen yourself, then nothing will ever be able to stop you, because you won't need an audience to perform. You won't need a support system to keep moving forward. You will become self-sufficient, self-motivated, self-pervaded, and that is where real strength lies. So when you find yourself alone, when the world goes silent, when no one is there to cheer you on, don't fear it. Embrace it. Use it. Because the greatest version of yourself is not built in front of others. It is built in the moments when it's just you, your ambition, and your will to rise. People will come and go. That's a fact of life. Friends you thought would be there forever may drift away. Family members may not always understand your vision. Relationships you invested your heart into may not last. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, the one person who will always remain is you. And if you don't learn to love, trust, and stand by yourself, you'll always be searching for something external to fill a void that only you can fill. Too many people tie their sense of worth to the presence of others. They feel validated only when they are surrounded by friends, appreciated only when they are loved by someone, and motivated only when they have support. But what happens when people leave? What happens when the ones you counted on disappear, when the love you relied on fades, when the encouragement you needed is no longer there? If your strength depends on others, then you'll always be at their mercy. Life will test you by taking people away, by forcing you to stand alone. And in those moments, you have two choices. You can break or you can build. You can fall into self-pity, wondering why people left, why they didn't stay, why they didn't support you. Or you can realize that their presence was never the source of your power to begin with. You were strong before them, and you will be strong after them. You want to be strong. Some people are only meant to be in your life for a season. They serve a purpose, teach a lesson, or walk with you for a while, but not forever. And that's not a bad thing, it's just life. When you understand this, you stop forcing connections that are meant to fade. You stop begging people to stay who were never meant to go where you're going. You stop holding on to relationships that are holding you back. The moment you become comfortable with yourself, truly comfortable, everything changes. You stop fearing solitude. You stop seeking validation. You stop depending on people to make you feel whole, because you already are. You begin to love your own company. You find peace in your own presence. And you realize that no matter who comes or who goes, you will be just fine. That doesn't mean you don't appreciate the people who do stay. It doesn't mean you push everyone away or refuse to form meaningful relationships. But it means that you no longer fear losing people, because you understand that those who are meant to be in your life will stay, and those who aren't will leave. And either way, you will continue to grow, to thrive, to evolve. So let people come and let them go. Love them while they're here, appreciate the lessons they bring, and release them when their time is up. But never forget, through it all, you stay, you remain. And as long as you have yourself, you have everything you need to keep moving forward. Silence is not weakness. It is not emptiness. It is power. In a world where everyone is rushing to be heard, where people seek attention before they seek wisdom, the ability to move in silence is one of the greatest strengths you can have. Too many people feel the need to announce their every move, to prove their worth to others, to constantly seek validation. But true power doesn't need to be broadcasted. It doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't need to be loud. It simply is. When you learn to embrace silence, you take control of your energy. You stop wasting time explaining yourself to people who don't matter. You stop seeking approval from those who wouldn't understand your vision even if you drew them a map. You move differently. You think differently. You become more intentional, more focused, more dangerous. Not in a destructive way, but in a way that commands respect without saying a word. The loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. They need attention, they need validation, they need people to acknowledge their presence, because without it, they feel insignificant. But the one who moves in silence, the one who doesn't seek applause or recognition but simply puts in the work, that's the one you need to watch. That's the one who's building something real. That's the one who is truly in control. Most people don't realize that silence is a weapon. When you don't react to negativity, when you don't engage in meaningless arguments, when you don't give people the satisfaction of knowing what you're thinking, you hold the power. You make people wonder. You keep them guessing. And in that space of uncertainty, you gain the upper hand. Greatness is built in silence. Champions don't announce their training schedule. Entrepreneurs don't reveal their next move before it's executed. The strongest individuals don't advertise their struggles. They simply overcome them. And when they finally step forward, when they finally reveal what they've been working on, the world has no choice but to take notice. Not because they talked about it, but because their results speak for them. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to explain why you're working late nights, why you're choosing discipline over distraction, why you're walking away from things that no longer serve you. Let your growth be the evidence. Let your success be the answer. Let your silence be the power that keeps people wondering how you did it. So stop talking about it and start doing it. Stop waiting for permission and start moving. You don't need a crowd to validate your journey. You don't need to announce your every step. Just work, just grind, just build. And when the time is right, when you finally step into the light, they won't ask why you were so quiet. They'll ask how you did it. And that is the moment where silence becomes the loudest sound in the room. Fear is what stops most people from ever reaching their full potential. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being alone. But the most dangerous fear of all, the fear of facing yourself. Because the moment you confront who you truly are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your past, your pain, you gain the power to transform. And yet, so many people avoid this. They fill their lives with noise, with distractions, with other people's opinions, all to escape the one person they can never outrun, themselves. But not you. You do not fear being alone. You do not fear sitting in silence, looking in the mirror and asking the hard questions. You do not fear the discomfort of self-reflection, because you understand that growth is born in those moments. You understand that solitude is not a curse, but a gift, a chance to build, to heal, to evolve. The truth is, the people who fear being alone are the ones who don't know themselves. They depend on the presence of others to feel whole. They rely on constant validation to feel worthy. But when you embrace solitude, when you learn to love your own company, you break free from that dependency. You stop needing external approval because you have built something unshakable within yourself. The strongest individuals in history were not those who followed the crowd. They were the ones who stood apart, who walked alone when necessary, who trusted their inner voice even when the world doubted them. They understood that solitude is where wisdom is gained, where strength is forged, where true clarity is found. When you do not fear being alone, you become unstoppable, because now nothing can shake you. You do not crumble when people leave. You do not fall apart when things don't go as planned. You do not seek fulfillment in places that were never meant to provide it. Instead, you stand firm, you trust yourself, you move with purpose. Most people never reach this level of self-awareness because they run from the work it takes to get there. They avoid solitude because solitude forces them to confront everything they've been avoiding: past mistakes, unresolved pain, unfulfilled potential. But you face it head on. You understand that the only way to truly grow is to step into that discomfort, to sit with your thoughts, to master your own mind. And once you do, you become fearless. You realize that being alone is not something to escape, but something to embrace. It sharpens your focus, it strengthens your resolve, it allows you to build a foundation so strong that no external force can break it. So, stand tall, walk boldly. And if the road ahead requires you to walk it alone, then walk it proudly. Because you are not afraid. You do not need a crowd to feel strong. You do not need noise to feel important. You are enough exactly as you are. And that is the most powerful realization you will ever have. At the end of the day, the greatest strength you will ever have is the ability to stand alone and still move forward. To walk your path without fear, without hesitation, without needing a crowd to validate your journey. Because solitude is not a weakness, it is a foundation. It is where clarity is found, where discipline is built, where true power is forged. You do not fear being alone because you understand that your destiny is yours and yours alone. You are not waiting for permission, for applause, or for company. You are not dependent on anyone else to push you toward greatness. You have the courage to sit with yourself, to grow in silence, to rise even when no one is watching. And when the world finally sees what you've built, when they wonder how you became so strong, so unshakable, so unstoppable, let them wonder. Let your actions speak. Let your success be the evidence. Because you never needed approval. You never needed validation. You never needed anyone to hold your hand. You walked alone, and yet here you stand, stronger, wiser, unbreakable. And that is why you do not fear being alone, because in solitude you found yourself. And that is the greatest power of all.